Hello guys, I'm Alexandra and this is my first video on YouTube. As I promised you earlier in my introduction, I'm gonna come up with more videos regarding Dutch culture, regarding my study in the Netherlands, my international marriage, my motherhood in the Netherlands, and so many other interesting things. And in today's video, I would like to talk about the things that Dutch people are really good at. In my opinion, as I said earlier, in my view, from my point of view, from my perception. And let's get started. Okay, the first thing, I find Dutch men are very well taken care of, and I think it's very good, especially for me as a person who's coming from Russian culture, where Russian men are not really particularly preoccupied with the way they look. And in Russia we even have a saying that man should be a bit more handsome than a monkey and then he's fine. I do not like that situation, and I found Dutch men really good, you know, when it comes to taking care of themselves. They really pay attention to the way they look, the personal hygienes, and you can see it quite clearly when you come to the Netherlands that they're dressed really well, they look really well, their hair is usually kept, and it's quite pleasant to see. Okay, the next point, the second one, what I like about Dutch culture is logic, order, and pragmatism. What exactly I mean when I say those things? Dutch people are very structural. Even when I compare myself with my husband, there are huge differences in our perception of life, in our way of planning things. And I learned a lot from him, and probably he learns a lot from me as well, because we are quite happy in our marriage. When I say about order, I mean everything Dutch people do is very structural. From the way they eat, they organize their feedings according to certain times, they eat certain food in certain time of the day, and if you do something the other way around, they find it odd, weird and strange. And when it comes to governmental things, for instance, like how they organize their taxes, healthcare, animals care, everything is structural, everything is making pretty much sense. For me, it's also quite unique because I come from the culture that is quite chaotic. So Russian people, they can be very deep in their philosophical, I don't know, view or perception of life, you know, and come up with all these famous writers, you know, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Chekhov, and many other impressive figures. But when it comes to organizing their life structurally, like Russian people are not so good at, and Dutch people very much are. So this is what I enjoy, because it makes your life predictable. You know what to expect next, and yeah, they provide some certain comfort. Okay, the third point, following the rules. It kind of comes from the previous one I said to you earlier. Dutch people tend to follow the rules. Of course, there are some exceptions, and people can be different, and sometimes they do things out of ordinary. That happens, but usually Dutch people really trust the rules they set up for themselves. You know, if they decided to, you know, to do certain things like paying taxes in certain time, or expecting some help and support from the government because they have paid taxes while they worked, you know, they trust in the system. And for me, it was also quite unique because in Russia we don't have that whatsoever. And when I came here, I was surprised how much people trust the education, the medical system, the government system in general. And at first it's kind of hard to buy for me as a Russian person. That was not easy, but after a couple of years of living here, really I appreciated that fact so much. And now when I look at some of my Russian friends living in Russia, and I see how they struggle with life because they can't really rely on a system, I realize how lucky I am that I don't have to do that. You know, I can just put my trust in the system. Not, of course, till the point that I get my hands off my life. No, these things don't happen. I still am the control. But yeah, I can relax in some way, and that's beautiful. That gives you a lot more time to enjoy your life. And yeah, that's probably what I really like. Okay, the next point is being honest. Well, Dutch people are honest. This is true. They know the one who will trick you into everything and everywhere. Sometimes they can be brutally honest, to be honest. Yeah, it's a bit of a saying, but Yeah, they're honest. To give you an example, for instance, when I was pregnant, I went to a shop to buy curtains for my son's room, for nursery room. And I had a conversation with a salesperson who told me, oh, you know what? You shouldn't really buy the curtains now. You should come in a couple of weeks, and we're gonna have a pretty nice sale. You're gonna save a lot of money. For me, that was so strange because in the past, when I was younger, I used to work as a promoter as well. I was in this sales world, and for me, it was strange. Like, why would you want to save someone's money? Like, you are there to actually sell things, to make a profit for your store, you know, but you were telling me that, you know, you can come other time and save your own money. That was strange, but Dutch people are honest. If they know this information, they're gonna be, you know, clear with you about it. And it not only happens that way. Sometimes you come to a store and you ask for a certain product and the store doesn't have that, or has it like a bit differently, and a bit in a different version, or has something what copies what you need but not really exactly what you wanted. And they can easily say, oh, you can go into another store, I know they might have it. You know, even though they still have a chance to sell you their product, maybe a little bit different, maybe yeah, but still they have the chance, but they choose to be honest with you. And that's something very unique, and something I had never experienced before to the point I came here, and something I'm still enjoying very much. So the next point is staying faithful. This is from my own perspective. I might be wrong. Maybe, as I said earlier, all people have their own experiences, totally fine. But what I would say, the Dutch people are very faithful. They're very committed to the family they started. Once they're young, they can date around, they can, you know, change relationships, experiment with things. But once they set their mind into something, once they committed to a family, they're staying together for a very long time. Even though sometimes their pragmatic approach gives you reason to think that it must be something more than just a sympathy and romantic love, that it's sort of like a calculated choice, but they're still doing very well. I mean, I've seen so many couples being together more than 50 years, and in Russia it's really, really difficult to come across. But in Netherlands it's more like a norm, especially in the old generation. But the young generation is also doing pretty well, especially compared to young generation in my country, in my home country, the country I came from. I still consider myself as a person who's pretty much internationally minded, but yeah, my cultural background, the country where I grew up, of course influenced me in so many ways and shapes me, not fully. I think other things shaped me the way I am, but my cultural background as well. Okay, next point. Dutch people, as I said earlier, they're very faithful when you choose a relationship, but they're also very committed to family time. Dutch people are not workaholics. They're not crazy ambitious people to achieve something, you know, extraordinary. They really appreciate their family time. They spend a lot of time with their children. You can see we have like such a thing as a Father's Day, for instance. It's not really celebration day. What do you think? It's a day in a week when father is not working and he's spending a lot of time with his kids, you know, taking them from school, or if they're small, just, you know, spending the whole time with them. And it's really beautiful to see when a man, you know, is being so attached to the children, you know, so much in tune with them, and up to everything. So it's really, really good. Yeah. Dutch people are really, really committed to family time, and they will not stay home late, they will not stay at work late, you know, like overwork themselves just to prove how, you know, magnificent they are. Maybe some people do that, but in general, as I say, I'm making a general picture here. Don't like read me literally that all Dutch men like that, you know, they all do like that. Of course not, you know, a lot of them, they're not doing it, you know, they're doing differently, but I'm making general picture here. So in my opinion, Dutch people are very much committed to family time. Healthy lifestyle, that's a point I appreciate the most, I guess. Dutch people tend to have a very healthy lifestyle. You don't really see Dutch people overeating during dinner time. You don't see them eating regularly in junk food places. They really like their dinners. They prepare them. They like to have vegetables, meat, like very organized dinner. They like to take time to cook it. They like to get together at a certain time, like at 6 o'clock usually, if you take your walk, you know, around everywhere, around the houses in the area, you can see that it's super quiet, you know, because all people are having dinner at that moment. Of course, it can be a bit different. Some people can start at 5, some at 6, some at 7, you know, depends. But usually around 6 o'clock, Dutch people are eating. And they appreciate that time, you know, they take that time. Also, when it comes to lunch, for instance, Dutch people tend to have a very healthy lunch. You don't really hear the stories like, oh, what do you have for lunch? And a Dutch person answers you, oh, chips, you know, and something. Yeah, it never works. They usually have their sandwich. They usually eat bread. They tend to eat brown bread. They put something healthy on it. Sometimes not super healthy, but still. They can eat. They can drink a glass of milk. They can eat apple, and yeah, that's usually like very much organized and very, very healthy. Even when it comes to children, you know, when they're running around playing, usually Dutch moms will offer them something to drink, or offer them, I don't know, apple or carrot. You don't see them offering their kids a lot of candies, a lot of chocolate, you know. Of course they do eat chocolate, and we will talk about Dutch cuisine in other videos. I will make more videos about it, but they're not really doing it, they're not really overdoing it. Even when it comes to, for instance, drinking beer, Dutch is pretty much a beer culture, I would call it. But it's my opinion, I think the Dutch people drink a lot of beer. And when you see people drinking beer, you know, these glasses, they're just so, not really limited, but they're not so huge, for instance, compared to German glasses of beer, you know, which are just gigantic. Dutch people know, they like to take their time for food. They have certain type of glass for each type of beer that fits certain type of weather outside, and it's very interesting. And they never overeat, overdrink. It's always just enough, you know, to stay healthy, to enjoy, and nothing more. So a lot of Dutch, they're busy with sport. You can see a lot of people just running in the park. For instance, I'm filming it at the moment, you know, they're trying to exercise. And of course bicycles, you know, the culture of bicycles. Dutch people are constantly riding bicycles. And yeah, that's what I like about Dutch culture. They tend to stay healthy, and that can really find its reflection in the life expectancy in the end. Okay, the next point is the respect for animals. As I said earlier in my video, in my first video, we have 2 animals. We have a cat and a dog. They have an amazing history. They all had a hard history. Our cat was found in somebody's garden, so we took him from shelter, from a family that was taking care of our cat in that shelter. We also have a dog. Our dog was a lab beagle, so she was a test animal, but she was released from a laboratory quite early. She was 4.5 months when she was already free. And knowing all these details about abandoned animals and animals with difficult history, I can say Dutch do a very good job. They really try to take care of animals around here. You never see like cats or dogs that belong no one and like running all around or even being dangerous, getting together. No, these things don't happen, you know. Dutch people really have good animal shelter. They have a lot of volunteers. They have animals ambulance. They build a lot of nice bridges for wild animals to cross the highways to make sure they don't endanger their life. They really pay attention to these things, and it's highly respectable, because in my culture in Russia, like, we still have a lot of cats and dogs that don't have home, that living nowhere, get sick, die, and it's just really sad to see, you know. And Dutch people are really good at it. Okay, taking care of old people and invalids. Really, when you come here in this country, you understand how social it is. That has some disadvantages, and I definitely will talk about those things in my other videos. But old people and invalids are very well taken care of. In Russia, like, you can see a lot of old people just begging for money, just being so poor, standing with their hands like this somewhere in the subway, and it's just so sad, you know. People can't really survive having pension. They work their whole life, and yeah, they haven't got anything out of it, while like in the end when they have to go with a pension. Yeah, that's pretty sad. In Netherlands it doesn't happen. You know, we have good old people's home. Old people usually have the money. They're the ones who are actually having the money, because young people have to pay for rent, or they have a mortgage, or they have other obligations, they have children. But old people just, you know, they have been free out of these old obligations. You know, children have been away from home for some time, so, and they're actually doing really well financially. The same thing about invalids. They have everything they need. Maybe it's not perfect, because nothing is perfect, but they're still very well taken care of. They have all the wheelchairs, all the equipment they need, and they can rely on the government and not just on their family to take care of them. So it's really, really pleasant to see. Okay, the next point is education, high education. As I said to you earlier, I have a master's degree in international law and human rights. And I have studied in Tilburg University, and that's a wonderful place to study. As long as I remember, the Netherlands was the first not English-speaking country offering a high education in English. So the quality of education is amazing. It's very challenging, it's very international, it's very modern, it's very up-to-date, and it's really, I would say that's a country of your choice, but I probably will make a whole separate video just for Netherlands education, why I think it's good, and like what it consists of, and how the relationship between professors and students look like, and so many other details. But now I want to say that education here is pretty awesome, and I had the chance to experience it myself. And yeah, Dutch people are really good at it. And the last point is English. Dutch people are very good at speaking English. Sometimes it can be difficult because they are so good at English, and when they see you trying to practice your Dutch and struggling with things, they can say, oh, just don't worry, you know, it's all fine, you know, you can speak English to me, I understand English. And a lot of people get upset because, like, you know what, I do want to study Dutch, you know, I want to speak it, you know, you're taking this opportunity right from me, you know, just don't do that. But it's really, it makes it comfortable, you know, to come here as an international person, because you're not feeling isolated, you're not feeling stuck like with your community or with other people, like an international community speaking English. You can easily communicate with Dutch people, and that's something that makes life a whole lot easier, right? Yeah, that probably was the last point. I've been too long on this video as well. Yeah, I think, yeah, I've been quite long here. So, but I really want to share with you the stuff that I really like about Dutch culture. And in my next video, I will tell you about the things that Dutch people are not really good at. And I hope, guys, you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. I really try to be unique in what I'm saying, not really super general, because, you know, saying that, oh, that's a country with an amazing, I don't know, whatever, like tulip fields, or like, I don't know, cheese, or, you know, red light district. I didn't want to be so, yeah, so general. I wanted to share with you something what is very, very unique and special, probably something you haven't heard before. And I hope I did it, maybe in some parts, and I hope you enjoy listening to me, and see you in my next video. Bye!